Hello and welcome back to my first FIFA 23 team guide, where I'll be running through the Nottingham Forest squad, letting you know the basics about the team and suggesting some realistic improvements to help you enjoy your FIFA 23 career mode save. Forest are the team closest to my heart. I've supported them for 20 years, so hopefully I can give you some good insight into why this is such a good and such a fun FIFA career mode save. We're going to start off talking about the formation and the tactics, then we'll go through the squad, I'll tell you a challenge for your save, and at the end of the video I'll give you some realistic signing suggestions. So let's get started with the brief formation and tactics overview. Well, Forest play a non-traditional 5-2-1-2 formation with a lot of emphasis between the strikers and the attacking midfielder all rotating in positions. Recently, Forest have been playing Johnson, Lingard and Gibbs-White up front, with a more defensive pairing of O'Brien and Yates in behind as centre midfielders. The wingbacks are super important in the Forest way of playing. They get really high up the pitch and focus on bending crosses low and across the box for the likes of Gibbs-White and Johnson to attack and try and score. So let's try and get you introduced to the squad. Starting in goal, the three main players you need to know are Dean Henderson, the best goalkeeper at Forest. You've got Wayne Hennessy, the former Premier League veteran who's dropped down to be second choice at Forest. And you also have Youth Academy player Jordan Smith, who's probably never going to be Premier League ready. So Jordan Smith, don't even include him in your squads basically. Hennessy probably on the bench, and Henderson should be starting pretty much every game. One thing you need to know about Henderson is he is on loan, so you are going to have to see if maybe you can sign him on a permanent deal or spend the first season scouting for a new first choice goalkeeper. In front of the goalkeeper, of course, in Forest formation, you have three centre-backs. And the usual starting pair is going to be McKenna, Niakate and Joe Worrell. Joe Worrell is club captain. He's a Forest fan. He was born in Nottingham. He's the absolute epitome of a fan playing on the pitch. Niakate is the fast player in the middle. Worrell and McKenna both have a big lack of pace, so they do need the faster Niakate to play in this role, and McKenna is one of the best aerial dominant centre-backs in the Championship last season, and it seems like he's continuing this on into the Premier League this year. Outside of the starting 11, you also have Steve Cook, who's 72 overall, and I can only see him really going down because he is fairly old and he hasn't really been that great when he's played in the Premier League this season. Beyond that, you have Loic Mbeso, who was signed from PSG for a couple of million 2 or 3 seasons ago. He's got good potential, but he's not really anywhere near Premier League ready. He's only at the top end of the 60s, so you're not going to be able to play him outside of the occasional cup match. I would definitely recommend another centre-back in my signing suggestions at the end. As I said before, fullbacks are really important for Forest. On the left you have Renan Lodi and Harry Toffolo, as well as Omar Richards, who hasn't played because of an injury at the start of the 2022 season. On the right hand side of the wingbacks you have Nico Williams, who has a lot of potential and can be a really good Premier League level fullback, but he doesn't really have too much backup. Ian Coney, another one of Forest's recent summer signings, can also play at right wing-back, but he's not going to be good enough for the Premier League, especially if you're planning on starting him ahead of Nico Williams. I would have a look and see if you can loan someone of Renan Lodi's ability who can also maybe play at right mid or right wing, so he can cover a couple of different positions, at least just for the first season while you develop Nico Williams. I think he's going to be good enough for the Premier League no matter what, but if you can get someone slightly better, it might help you survive in the first season when defending is going to be key for Forest. In centre midfield, there are a couple of options. In my opinion, the best combination is probably Mangala or Yates combined with Freuler. However, you do also have Lewis O'Brien and Jack Colback, as well as youth player Ollie Hammond and Forest overall fan favourite Cafu. Cafu doesn't really have the ability, but what he is a really nice guy off the pitch. All Forest fans love him, so do check him out and give him some opportunities in cup games here or there. Don't just discount him because he's a very low rating. I really do recommend you give some of these players a go, try them in different combinations. Freuler is better on the ball than any of the others, Mangala is a really good dribbler as is O'Brien, and Brian Yates is a really good box-to-box physical option getting up and down the pitch. But the real fun of the Forest squad is the three that play ahead of Freuler, O'Brien, Mangala and Yates. Most recently, it's been Johnson, Lingard and Morgan Gibbs-White starting in a 3, where they all transfer different positions throughout the match. This has been really fun to watch. It hasn't resulted in too many goals, but you can see the potential, especially of Johnson and Gibbs-White, to improve is absolutely there. Johnson's been a full Wales international since the age of 19, and you can definitely sense Morgan Gibbs-White is going to play for England within the next 5 years if he continues his upward trajectory. If you prefer a more traditional striker up there, you've also got Sam Surridge, you've got Taiwo Awoniyi, and you've got Lyle Taylor. I can't imagine Lyle Taylor would be getting near any Premier League squads, but Sam Surridge has played and looked alright this season, and Taiwo Awoniyi was lethal in the Bundesliga last year, so it might be worth rotating some of your time with these players to try and improve them. Lyle Taylor is a really high rated prospect. At striker, he's only 56 rating to start off with, but I do think he's got potential to be Premier League level if you can develop him. He looks a bit stocky, but he is also quite fast, so he's one of those all-rounder sort of brute force strikers that are quite fun to use. Not quite Diego Costa level, but you can see him, if he gets to his potential, having similar stats to the old Spanish striker. So that was a quick rundown of the squad. Now let's talk about the club a little bit so you can get in the mood for a Forest career mode. Well, this summer they've had a whole new squad and they've spent a lot of money on some very interesting career mode players, so it's hard to imagine there are actually many better options in a Premier League save than Nottingham Forest. Around 20 players have joined Forest for a combined fee of nearly £200 million, including Gibbs-White, Remo Freuler and Jesse Lingard. With basically an entirely new squad, you won't have any issues gelling them on FIFA because of course that isn't really a thing, but you might find it hard to balance squad morale with so many players being considered important players on their contracts. Forest squad is still quite weak in central midfield, so you could look into maybe a more dynamic box-to-box player. I'll suggest some at the end of this video, including people like Houssem Aouar, who they were linked with in real life. The challenge with Forest was quite simple. It started out as trying to stay in the league, but now you can sense they're probably aiming for around 12th place in the division. Their Greek owner has stated he wants to bring silverware back to Nottingham, so aiming for wins in the League Cup and the FA Cup within a couple of seasons should be seriously considered. Longer term, Forest see themselves playing in Europe again before the end of the decade, and who can blame them with this much transfer money spent on the team? That's going to be your challenge, progressing towards Europe and improving your team no matter what transfer budget you're given at Forest. So let's talk finally about some players that I recommend you have a look at. Well, the right wing back position was somewhere I said you should definitely strengthen, and I don't think you should look much further than Hans Hateboer at Atalanta. He was linked in real life, so he is a realistic option for Nottingham Forest, and he's got all the stats you need for that position. He's fairly tall at 6'1", he's got around 85 pace, he's got good stamina strength, he can get forward and he can also defend. A really top option if you want to upgrade from Nico Williams in Season 1. Someone who I think really epitomises the way that Forest sign their players would be signing Axel Tuanzebe at centre-back. Not only does he come in with a load of pace, he's fairly young, he's coming from a bigger team where he probably needs to prove himself and feel loved at Nottingham Forest, and he has also played in the Midlands quite a lot for Aston Villa over the years. I think he's a decent option, he's fairly tall, of course he won't be on the biggest wage being a backup at Manchester United, and he has got a lot of connections with the England under-17s, under-18s to under-21s, where Steve Cooper was a manager a long time ago. I think for the price and the fact that you need pace so desperately, Tuanzebe is definitely a good option on FIFA. However, I don't think he would really fit in real life, so he's probably not the most realistic option. And the final player you can have a look at, if you can manage to actually persuade him to join Nottingham Forest, unlike in real life, is going to be Cody Gakpo. This guy's got a ton of potential, around 87 potential, which is insane for a player Forest are linked with. But he has been linked in real life, and with only 20 to 30 million being his transfer value, he could be an extremely out there striker if you want to sign someone who's a bit better at finishing than Gibbs-White, Johnson and Lingard. I think he would be a top option, although probably the least realistic and most out there option of the ones we've suggested. But if you've got any suggestions, leave them in the comments below because I'd love to hear every single one of your suggestions. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully you subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, especially based around the Premier League, because I've got a ton of these scheduled to go out over the next couple of weeks. So I hope you all enjoy FIFA 23, hope you all enjoy playing as Nottingham Forest. I'll see you very soon for another video. Thank you, and goodbye.